So we're already getting ready for week 2 of the NFL season. Hooray! Felt good to have football back in the fold last week, didn't it? I certainly hope it did for most all of you. Probably could all use the positive distraction, depending upon your team, or negative distraction, whatever the case might be, but a distraction nonetheless. Certainly, I think we all are happy that football is back. So, anyways, I am here to give you my picks, straight up winners and against the spread, easy for me to say, for week 2 of this 2020 NFL season. Now, last week, as I've always talked about every year, I worry about week 1 because you really don't know what you're basing it off of. You're basing it off of primarily either instincts or feelings or how teams look on paper. Sometimes you're gauging it off of some of what you saw in the preseason, which can certainly be fool's gold. Traditionally, I haven't done that well in week number 1, and that's just a fact. This year was a little bit better in week 1. I'll take it, 10-6, picking straight up winners, 10-6 against the spread. Like the spread is, to me, always a little bit harder to pick because you can't account for late backdoor covers and some other things that may happen. Would like to certainly be better than 10-6 picking straight up winners, but for week 1, I will take it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you now my week 2 picks, and let's see how I fare in this second week of the season. Now, the Thursday night matchup, I took the Browns minus the 6. I would have thought the Browns would have done better on Thursday night. Now, Baker certainly looked better, and it's kind of a tricky thing is, do you overreact to how bad he was against the Ravens in that unit in week 1? Or do you overreact to how good he looked for the most part against a really bad Bengals defense in week number 2? Or is the truth probably somewhere in between? But the Browns did win, but allowed the Bengals to continue to stay around and be kind of pesky, even though it felt like the Browns should be winning by way more. And of course, because they're the skid marks, they allowed the Bengals in the back door to cover. So Browns win, but they only won by 5, so the Bengals ended up covering the spread. Now transitioning over to the early games on Sunday, you've got the Giants traveling to Soldier Field to take on the Bears. I will take the Bears minus the 5.5. If you're a Bears fan or Giants fan, you want to see what I think is going to happen in that week 2 game. I've already put up my preview video on this channel, so make sure you check it out. You've got the Falcons coming off of that blowout loss at home to the Seahawks last week, traveling to Dallas to take on fighting Mike McCarthy's and the Dallas Cowboys, who were maybe reeling a little bit off of that week 1 loss at SoFi Stadium to the Los Angeles Rams. I'll run with the Cowboys all day here. Give me Dallas minus the 4. The Lions head to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Frankly, I'm surprised at the money line here, or not the money line, that the spread is only 6. I'll take Green Bay minus the 6. Green Bay put up 40-something on the Vikings last week. And the Lions are coming off of another Lions loss in week 1, this time to the Bears. So I'll take Green Bay minus the 6. You got the Jaguars traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Both teams coming off of week 1 victories. Tennessee's favored by 8 here, which admittedly feels like a bit big in terms of the spread. I like Tennessee to win the game, but I do like the Jaguars potentially to come through the back door and cover. So give me the Jaguars to cover plus the 8. You've got Minnesota traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Kind of surprised here that the Colts lost to the Jags in week 1, and the Vikings had to play a vastly superior opponent in the Green Bay Packers and got beat in week 1, and the Colts are 3-point favorites, which I guess typically is what you would attribute to. This game is viewed as a pick-em, except for the home field advantage gives you 3 points. The Colts are favored by 3. I think the Vikings are a better team. I like the Vikings plus the 3 here. You got Buffalo behind Josh Allen. Going to be without a couple of guys up the middle. That defense of Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. I'll take the Bills minus the 5. I get the 49ers traveling to the New York area to take on those woeless, hapless Adam Gase Jets. I'm sorry, Sam Darnold. You were hung with a real turd around your neck at the head coach position. Give me the 49ers minus 7, even though they have a quasi-turd at quarterback themselves. You got the Rams traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Eagles smarting after last week's choke job. What else can you say? I mean, you're up 17 on the Washington football team in the second quarter, and you end up losing the game 27-17. Like, that's kind of a choke job. And the Rams coming off of that impressive week 1 victory here. Now the Rams got to travel across the country to take on the Eagles. I like the Eagles in this space. I'll take the Eagles to win plus the 1. Broncos traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Credit to the Steelers last week. Monday Night Football on the road against a bad team in the Giants, a game that they traditionally would struggle with. They won by double digits. I like them here to win, so give me Pittsburgh to win. But I do think the 7-point spread, because it's a bad team that they're facing, could be a bit high for the second week in a row. I will take Denver to cover the 7. Carolina travels to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady, TB12, Gronk, and the rest of the Buccaneers, who may have Mike Evans, yes, but may not have Chris Godwin in the fold. Panthers have a slew of injuries themselves. I like the Bucs to come out and get their first win of 2020, but I expect the Panthers to keep it somewhat competitive, so I like them to cover the 8.5-point spread. When you go to the late Sunday afternoon matchups, you've got the Redskins and that great front four coming into Arizona to take on Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and that Cardinals offense. A little bit of concern about the potential of that Redskins front four being able to get after Kyler Murray and get in his face and knock him around a little bit and get some pressure on him. But the Cardinals, to me, are just a better football team at this moment. Give me the Cardinals minus the 6.5. You've got the Chiefs traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. I gotta like the Chiefs minus the 8 here. I mean, for God's sakes, the Chargers struggled to beat the Bengals. So yeah, Chiefs by 8 all day long. And then you've got the Ravens traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. You remember last year's game was in Baltimore, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they whooped up on Deshaun Watson and the Texans all day long. It was something like 41-7. You got the Texans coming off of that Week 1 performance that was not good against Kansas City. Meanwhile, Baltimore rolled over the Browns 38-6. I like Baltimore minus the 7. The Sunday night matchup, actually, it'll be pretty intriguing. Bill Belichick and Cam Newton come into Seattle to take on Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. This should be fun. I'm really looking forward to this game. Want to see, it's one thing to beat the Dolphins and just primarily do it with Cam hitting some big plays on the ground. But you're going into Seattle to playing against the Seahawks. How's Cam going to do in the passing game? And I look forward to this matchup. I really do. I'll take the Seahawks minus the 4. And then Monday night, the Saints travel into Vegas to take on the Raiders as the Raiders open up their new stadium. Both teams coming off of Week 1 victories. The Saints looking relatively good against the Buccaneers down in the Superdome in Week 1. Meanwhile, the Raiders, winning on the road against the Panthers. Sure, it wasn't pretty at moments, I suppose, and they had to sit there and put up a touchdown late in order to make that happen. But a win on the road in the NFL is a win on the road in the NFL. So now the Raiders come into this matchup at home, new stadium opening, all of that. The Saints are favored by 5. This is probably my upset special of the week. I like the Raiders here. I really like the Raiders here. I think this is going to be a situation where there's going to be a bunch of emotion, even though you might not have fans necessarily. You're still opening in a new stadium. This is a team that's got some confidence coming off the Week 1 victory. I like them here, and I like them in this spot. And I didn't think I was going to, but the more I thought about it, the more I do. I love Josh Jacobs and what he can do on the ground for this Raiders offense. And when I look at this team, I say, you know what? The Saints are primed to be picked off and upset some point in time here early in the season. I think this is a spot. So give me the Raiders minus or plus the 5. So those are my picks for week number 2. You certainly are welcome to go against me. Let me know your picks in the comments section below. You can tell me how wrong I'm going to be, and then in a couple of days we'll forget all about it. Sound good? Super duper. Talk to you later.